Hi there! Welcome back to the part of the show where I say nothing of note for like 20 minutes and everyone loves it for some reason. So Dinosaur Cove is a book I used to read. By that I mean someone else read it to me. And I assume I used to like it, because I still have all of them. And I wanted to revisit them, just because I don't remember anything about them. Dinosaur Cove is a book written by Rex Stone, which is definitely not a real name. In 2008, which was before I was born, so do with that what you will. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is just reading them in the order of the numbers on the back of them, or on the side of them, on the number part of the book. And then I'll try to recap them in as efficient of a way as possible. So here I'll just go over the things that I remember. I remember cheese and pickle sandwiches that were so deadly that, like, things started panicking when they ate them. I remember pasta that someone was pretending was grubs. And I remember someone losing a tooth in dinosaur times, and then all that time later, someone finds a fossilized human tooth. So I guess I'll just read book one and get back to you. So, there's this kid named Jamie. He and his father just moved to his grandfather's lighthouse to open a fossil museum. Jamie goes down to the beach to look for fossils, and upon finding one, he uses the Fossil Finder app to identify it. Suddenly, this other boy named Tom jumps out at him and takes him to a cave. The little morons walk through a super tight gap in the cave and find some fossilized dinosaur tracks. They follow them through another part of the cave and the tracks unfossilized. In this new area, they find some ginkgo fruits and Jimmy almost falls off a cliff. The two go up to a big rock and see some weird birds. They look at them with binoculars and see that they're actually pterosaurs. Also, Tom says pterodactyls, which isn't a real thing. There are pterosaurs, and there is a type of pterosaur called a pterodactylus. Anyway, they also see a Triceratops, which means the cave took them to dinosaur times, which sounds like the best spin-off of medieval times there could possibly be. They walk around a little more and find a Winonosaurus that they name Wana. Fitting. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking and everyone takes off running. They dive into a river, hide behind some rocks, and a Tyrannosaurus Rex just shows up. Jamie scares off with a flashlight and they run over to a lake where they see some more pterosaurs, and then the Tyrannosaurus comes back. They run away again and another Tyrannosaur shows up. The two Tyrannosaurs fight each other, and Tom and Jamie run back through the cave. The ginkgo fruit Jamie brought with him crumbles into dust, and Jamie goes home. So, in book 2, we open on Jamie running down on the beach to see Tom and go back to the Mesozoic era, and he has those sandwiches I mentioned. Let's go. They go back through the cave, reunite with Wana, and head towards some mountains. Tom spots some orange houses through his binoculars. They keep walking and eventually reach a river. They make it through the river and a Triceratops shows up. Actually, like 6 Triceratops show up. In this book, they call them T-tops, which I really hate. Anyway, they hop on top of the Triceratops and start riding towards the termite mounds. They get there and termites start pouring out and attacking everyone. And I just want to point out, between these termites and the Tyrannosaurs fighting in the last book, this series is way more brutal than I remember. The herd stampedes and Jamie loses his notebook and fossil finder. The herd falls into a river and washes all the bugs off, including Jamie and Tom. Wana brings the notebook and fossil finder back. Unfortunately, the current is really strong, so Jamie and Tom go over the edge of a waterfall. Luckily, these little boys somehow survive falling off a cliff and hitting something that absolutely wouldn't break their fall in real life. Water. They float back to the cave and go back to the lighthouse. From this point forward, I'm going to skip the beginning of the book while recapping unless something interesting happens. So Tom and Jamie go back to Dino World, find Wana, and set up to follow some new tracks they found. After following them for a while, they end up in a swamp. They go to follow some baby tracks and Jamie gets stuck in the mud. He eventually manages to get out and they find a baby Ankylosaurus that is also trapped in the mud. The mother shows up and our boys take off running. They slowly sneak back and manage to get a rope they made from vines around the baby. They tie it to the mother but she won't move, and then everyone starts drowning in the mud again. Jamie gets on top of the mother and manages to lead everyone out of the mud. They go back to the cave and go home. Jamie and Tom are trying to figure out where Quetzacoatlus nested. After they get Juana, they head down to the ocean and eventually find one or two of them. I should mention that they started saying pterosaur instead of pterodactyl, and I appreciate that. Now, normally I don't like the nicknames in these books, but this time going to use Quetzies is just easier. So after one of the boys and Juana almost die again, they find babies. Obviously. Then the big one swoops down and steals Juana. How poignant. To retrieve him, Jamie and Tom pull off an impossible feat of athleticism by climbing on the underside of a cliff. After staring at the scene for a while, Jamie and Tom tackle Juana and jump off the cliff. They somehow land safely and everyone goes home. Jamie and Tom were trying to catch crabs and they decided to do it in Dino World. They managed to catch one, but out of nowhere a Velociraptor shows up and steals the fossil finder. It doesn't take the crab, it's just the electronic device. They chase it all the way to its cave, dodge around some geysers, and get close to the device, but then the Velociraptor comes back. Tom lures it away while Jamie grabs the fossil finder, but it obviously comes back and Jamie is about to die. Luckily, Juana comes in and headbutts the raptor, just shatters its skeleton, gives it internal bleeding probably. They flee and return home where Grandpa asks if they want to go crabbing. Jamie and Tom go back to Dino World and immediately notice that something is wrong. The only dinosaur around is Juana, and even he's acting weird. Upon walking out into a field, they notice 2 meteorites hitting the Earth. Luckily, neither of them is the extinction ball. Then Juana falls off a cliff. They manage to pull him back up and immediately go to look for the other crash site, where they examine the meteorite for a second before looking into the distance and seeing their Edmontosaurus. The Edmontosaurus herd, already running away from the forest, which I should have mentioned is on fire, start charging towards the boys in the pit Juana fell into. Jamie and Tom grab some flaming branches to try and scare the eddies away from the pit. It works, the Edmontosaurus leave, and everyone goes home. Jamie and Tom go to Dino World, and they find out that everything about the landscape has changed. After seeing some new dinosaurs and an Archaeopteryx, they find out that they're in the Jurassic. They are worried that they won't have Juana with them, but out of nowhere, Juana shows up. They follow him to a clearing with a bunch of Stegosauri in it, and they mention that there should be a plated dinosaur called Platyosaurus, which is funny because there is a dinosaur called Platyosaurus, it just isn't a Stegosaurid. Anyway, a storm comes and a Steggy rolls down a hill. Jamie, Tom, and Juana manage to catch it and bring it back to the mother, where the eggs then conveniently, for the sake of the viewer, start hatching. After all that nonsense, Jamie and Tom go back to the cave and Juana headbutts the wall and disappears. Jamie and Tom are going snorkeling in the Jurassic Ocean, and Juana is also there. Of course, someone almost dies again, this time Juana. They manage to save him, but the surfboard they brought floats away, and as we established, human things can get fossilized. Luckily, some ancient dolphins called Ichthyosaurs bring it back. Suddenly, Juana and the dolphin thing start panicking. Tom looks under the water and he sees a predator. Now, the creature in question is a Liopleurodon, but in this book they call it a Plesiosaurus, and I'm not even mad about that. So it starts going after the ickies, and Tom starts distracting it with the surfboard. It eventually manages to grab it, bad, and Jamie falls into the water. He plays dead and almost drowns, but the ickies beat the crap out of the Liopleurodon and Jamie gets away. They go back home and there's a whale. Jamie and Tom are attempting to go pterosaur watching. They see an Archaeopteryx, which is not a pterosaur, and they also see a different pterosaur with a name so long that I will not try to pronounce it. Then one starts headbutting a tree to let them know something big is coming. It's a Diplodocus, and it starts eating the tree the boys are standing on. Eventually, it hurts itself and starts freaking out. Tom falls off of the tree and onto its neck, and it runs away with him. Jamie manages to catch up and save him, and they see some wood lodged in the dinosaur's gums. They walk up and try to get the splinter out, but they can't. Juana tells them to use some sticky fruit to pull it out. Not in English. It works, the Diplodocus leaves, and everyone goes home. We're on number 10, you know the drill by now. Jamie and Tom are at some human thing, and they decide to go discover a new dinosaur. So they go back in time and find some Allosaurs. They watch them sleep for a while, but then dumb stupid little Wana runs right up to one. How predictable of him. They grab him and run away, but the Allosaurus wakes up, and guess what happens? That's right, the boys fall off a cliff. I'm sick of this. They squeeze into a cave, but it collapses and they need another way out. They follow claw marks and hear a horrible screech. As per usual, they run for their lives. The thing gets Jamie's flashlight, but he manages to calm it down and he gets it back. They run home and find out that that cave thing was the undiscovered dino all along. Mazel tov. Alright, sorry for my attitude towards the last book. In my defense, I really had used the bathroom the whole time. So Jamie and Tom aren't looking for anything in particular this time, but in Dino World they see some Apatosaurs, and the name Apatosaur triggered a memory inside of me, and if I'm remembering correctly, this book is really sad. The herd of sauropods starts getting attacked by two Ceratosaurids, and they manage to protect the little one, but the oldest Apatosaur gets badly injured and is now lying in a pool of its own blood. The rest of the herd says goodbye and walks away. Jamie and Tom rush over to help and the old thing stands up and the boys follow it to a giant waterfall. They look to see where the old bloody guy went and they follow some footsteps. They go behind the waterfall and find a bunch of old Apatosaurus skeletons. They walk up to the dying one, they sit next to it, and eventually, it dies. What right does this book have to make me sad? At the time of writing this, I'm still sad. Anyway, the boys go home. Whatever. This one starts with some museum stuff, but even in the human world, Jamie somehow ends up dangling off a cliff. What are the chances? Very high. Our heroes walk around the Jurassic for a bit and they hear another horrible noise. A little Compsognathus comes out of the plant and soon after there's like 80. They all swarm the boys and try to get those long ago aforementioned sandwiches. Jamie and Tom manage to escape through a river, but then of course, a volcano erupts and lava starts tearing down the mountain toward the boys. They escape, but then another one erupts. They flee, trying to lead all the Compsognathuses to safety, but the lava is gaining on them. Luckily, it finds a new riverbed and goes flying off into a canyon, and everyone goes home. Sorry if the video looks a little different, I couldn't figure out how I set up my camera last time and I don't know if I ever will. So that was Dinosaur Cove. I really hope you thought it was good, because I spent a really long time on this video and now my head hurts. Sorry that this video took so long to come out. I was actually on the toilet the whole time. It was pretty nice. I never had to move to go to the bathroom because I was already there. Never had to sleep because I wasn't exerting any energy. And I haven't had to eat ever since the incident. So that was pretty nice. Now you may be asking, what was the point of all this? I don't know. I thought it might be fun or something. Now you may be asking, what was the point of all this?